This half hour, a new Bill of Rights to protect air travelers is in effect today. And so for more, we're joined live by passenger rights advocate Gabor Lukacs. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good evening. Actually, let me just credit it is rules that protect the airlines, not the passengers.
Okay, so let's talk about these new rules and how they will change what's already in place.
So the new rules more than double how long airlines can keep you on the tarmac when it is going nowhere and the airplane is going nowhere. It changes the standard in terms of how long if a tarmac delay is acceptable, and allows airlines to keep you on the tarmac for 3 hours and 45 minutes. Previously, the standard had been 90 minutes. That was also the amount that Senate endorsed.
Okay, so we heard earlier from Transport Minister Marc Garneau. He really touted this to be something that will protect travelers. Why do you think this isn't going to work?
Unfortunately, the government is duping the public. As I just mentioned, this is a step backwards. Allowing airlines to keep you for longer time on the tarmac is something that harms passengers. Also, when it comes to denial of boarding, the government is touting some bombastic figures that look great on news headlines, but actually the criteria for eligibility are very narrow, and in the vast majority of the cases, passengers will not be getting a dime.
Okay, that's what I was going to get to. So you only get compensated if the problem was, quote unquote, within the airline's control. So who determines that?
It is not the only problem. You will get compensated for being bumped only if it happened because the flight was overbooked and because you can show as a passenger that at the boarding gate there were more passengers than the number of seats available on the aircraft. But as a passenger, you don't know how many seats there are. You don't know how many people there are at the boarding gate. And the airline can have a wealth of ways of avoiding its obligation, for example, by closing the check-in counter early and you will never make it to the boarding gate, or by unilaterally changing your ticket to a different flight, and that way you will again never be at the boarding gate. In the past, those kind of situations were recognized as constructive or de facto denial of boarding. But under the new rules, passengers will be left without protection.
Okay, what's the answer here? What is the solution to this problem in your view?
The solution is very simple. The government should have accepted Senate's recommendation to limit tarmac delays to 90 minutes, and the government should have adopted the European Union's gold standard for passenger protection. It has been in place for 13 years plus, and it has proven to work.
Can you compare how passengers are protected in other countries, as you mentioned in Europe, compared to how we're protected in Canada?
So when you look at how the European rules work, in Europe, if you have a valid ticket, confirmed booking, you're on time at the airport and you have your passport and you still don't get on the plane, you get denied boarding compensation. You don't have to prove that the flight was overbooked. You don't have to prove that it was something within the airline's control. There are all these sets of excuses with respect to denial of boarding. Even with respect to flight delays and cancellations, in Canada, the government allows airlines to pay nothing, no compensation at all, if the airline makes an unverifiable, unsubstantiated claim of maintenance issues. While in Europe, maintenance is the airline's responsibility, and therefore if the aircraft breaks down, it is the airline that has to take full responsibility for that and pay compensation. So in Europe, the only exceptions for paying compensation is things like a volcanic eruption, acts of terrorism, maybe a major snowstorm, which you will understand that those things can happen. But short of those, the standard is paying compensation and the exception is not paying. Under the rules put forward by the government, it is the other way around. The standard is no compensation, and in exceptional cases, in a few cases, passengers will be seeing maybe some compensation.
But Gabor, do you think that fees would be increased if we were to change to a model like Europe?
No, I don't believe so. In Europe, there are airfares which are substantially lower than Canada, and Europe has the gold standard, and we didn't see a major airfares hike when those rules came into force in Europe.
Okay, lots to follow here. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight, Gabor Lukacs.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, we'll chat soon.